Hi, I'm Amber.
And I'm Tiara.
Let's find out how our culture shapes our teaching. My most dominant family history traces back to Germany. And while I was born in La Mesa, I spent most of my childhood growing up in Poway. Just like everyone else, we were a typical white middle-class family that valued education. My brothers and I were expected to do well in school, both academically and behaviorally. Some of my key triggers include when students do not give their full attention to the teacher, especially when specifically asked for it. A second is when students look away when they're being talked to by either another student or an adult. And third, when students refuse to provide an answer by either staring blankly or saying, "I don't know."
Growing up in a mixed-race household in Spring Valley, I had the chance to experience a variety of different types of people. My parents are both educated, and growing up told us education is very important and can be a different pathway for all of us. In my family, respect was central for all of our relationships. After reading Chapter 4, I was able to identify 3 of my key triggers. The first one is students not using manners, like saying please and thank you. The second is students misbehaving, and when you ask them about the behavior, they say they don't know why they did the things they did. And the third one is students saying they can't do something before they even try.
The points of connection that I used with my focus student were selective vulnerability, when I shared a time with him that I also struggled in school, competence, when I was able to effectively help him with his math, and familiarity, which I demonstrated by seeing him before school, after school, and at lunch just to check in with him.
The focus student I chose for the project's name is Kevin. The points of connection that I used to connect with him were selective vulnerability, which I talked about my attention issues and his and how we both use a similar strategy to solve them, familiarity, when I went to go see him play baseball after school, and similarity of interest, when we talked about our favorite bands together. Next, we talk about the relation to culturally responsive teaching. We talked about affirmation and listening. It's important to let the students know that you care about them and listen to what they're saying, not just hear what they're saying. Students are more willing to work for people that they like, and it's important to create this relationship by showing them that you care. The next thing we talked about was building trust and helping students believe in themselves and how important it is to have that in your classroom.
In comparing the two of us together, we found some similarities and differences. One of the most prominent similarities we found was our dedication to ensuring that students are heard. One of the differences we noticed was in the connections we make with students. I base connections on content, while Tiara takes a more personal approach.
After talking, one of the similarities that we discussed was that we were both academically driven and wanted to please the teachers and parents. So we were always quiet and respectful in class. This is why we both get upset when students are doing the things that if we did when we were younger, we would have gotten in trouble for. Another similarity that was found is that we both want our students to be their best selves. This is every area, not just academics. That can be in sports, in their personal lives, in their friendships. We want them to be the best that they can be. And that's what drives us as educators. We strive to have students achieve their best. The last similarity that we found revolves around respect. The things that we identified as triggers were the things that we both thought were disrespectful for us. And we had to think about how those same behaviors were viewed by others, and take that into account when handling certain behaviors.
While we found many similarities, we also have a few differences. One of the main differences was our backgrounds, which shaped the way that we relate to students. Since Tiara is from the area that we teach in, she is more familiar with the things that students are going through. I grew up in a completely different setting, so I have a harder time relating to them personally. This leads to helping students through problems that arise in their lives. While Tiara has seen many of these personally or through friends growing up, I was not exposed to the same circumstances as many of my students are going through. This makes it more difficult for me to relate on a personal level.
How we use this information. You need to learn about your students first and plan lessons and content with them in mind. The academics are important, but getting to know your students can make their experience learning the content more meaningful. It's also important to have a safe space. They need to feel respected and heard in the class so they're willing to try and take chances that will benefit all involved. The goal is to know your biases and triggers so you can start to counteract them. You should start to see how your students affect you with their behavior and allow yourself the time to think about how you can better respond to things in the classroom that you may not agree with.
One way that we can get a lot of personal information about our students is by asking them to create a mock Wikipedia page as if they were a famous celebrity. We will learn a lot about our students through a fun and engaging writing activity and can shape future lessons and interactions with this information. Through this, we learned that not only is it important to get to know your students, but you must also get to know yourself first in order to do so. Thanks for watching!